Stamina, how games, all that and more in today's episode of Locked On Buckeyes.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Buckeye fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Buckeyes for the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. It is Tuesday evening on October 26th in the year 2021, and we are back for another fresh live episode of Locked On Buckeyes. I want to thank everyone that makes this podcast the first listen of every single day. Make sure you drop over to the review section on Apple Podcasts. Drop a rating and review. It'll help the show grow, and it's free to do it. This week is a big week for everybody involved in the Ohio State football program, but all eyes, my eyes, your eyes, the Heisman voters' eyes are going to be watching C.J. Stroud. Ohio State has two guys that will possibly be in New York at the end of the season for the Heisman Trophy ceremony, as they'll be voted in as Heisman Trophy finalists. Now, one thing specific about this week is they're both probably going to get more playing time than normal. Well, one guy will get more playing time than normal. C.J. Stroud will probably have to play deeper into the third quarter, into the second half than he has over the past few games. TreVeyon Henderson will probably be asked to tote the rock more in this game than he has previously. I don't believe he averages more than 10 carries a game. I think he averages no more than 12 touches a game. Just to talk about how electric and how explosive he is. Everybody talks about and everybody looks at the explosiveness of this offense. You can't look at the explosiveness of this offense and without looking at how a guy in TreVeyon Henderson is a true freshman and how he does maneuver things and how he's so explosive once the ball's in his hand. And you look at his stat sheet, 9 carries, maybe 10 carries. 16 carries against Maryland is the most carries he has had on the season in this season. Outside of that, TreVeyon Henderson does not need the ball very long to get loose and to basically be a person that defenders have a very hard time to take down. But in regards to C.J. Stroud, there's one interesting thing that Ryan Day said during his presser on Tuesday, which I think speaks volumes about this moment, this game, this night primetime action that he is going to get this weekend. Ryan Day said, this game will be, quote, a little bit different, end quote, for C.J. Stroud while talking about the electric atmosphere that he will be in the midst of on Saturday evening. Ohio State is planning and preparing to have 102,000 strong in the shoe on Saturday night. I believe there are only single seat tickets available, no groups at all. That's how many people are planning to flock to Columbus, Ohio for this game. It'll probably be the highest attended game all season long, assuming that the game against the team up north is in Ann Arbor this year. C.J. Stroud's mindset, C.J. Stroud, the quarterback, C.J. Stroud, the man that has been cool, calm, collected, steady, and smooth, even throughout some portions of the season, of the past few games, that you would think maybe he might get rattled. He might not start in the way that he has, and he might slow down throughout portions of the game. C.J. Stroud has not been that guy. Stroud has been an individual that has been ready, whatever the defense throws at him, however the preparation may change throughout the week. C.J. Stroud has said, hey, guys, look, I got this. You can follow me. Our offense is good. We got to stay loose. We got to be able to adapt to what the defense is doing right in front of us. And by doing so, man, oh man, we are going to be so ready, so in tune with everything that we need to do to be successful. The defense will not know what is going to be thrown at. No, defense will not know what we are throwing at them. CJ Stroud, we're watching you, young man. I'm excited for you. I'm excited to see what happens this week. The defense of Penn State is not like a defense that Ohio State has seen yet this season. Maryland, nah. Rutgers, nah. Oregon, not at all. The Oregon defense is not what this defense is at Penn State. Penn State's defense is one of the best in the Big Ten. We're going to look at some numbers here in a second to kind of confirm what we already believe about this defense. CJ Stroud, I'm watching you. We are all watching you. We're looking to see your mindset, how you handle adversity, how you respond when maybe you might get pushed a little further back than you are used to. All eyes are on you. I know people might be talking about a Heisman moment and say, hey, this week can be a Heisman moment for him. Don't think about the Heisman. Don't think about those things, those awards at the end of the season. Do your job. Take care of everything right now this week on the field in Columbus, Ohio. I know people might say, oh, the field's quality is slippery. The turf is bad. Okay, great. It's football. Deal with the conditions and keep on going with it. Yes, bad conditions aren't ideal, but there are bad conditions that people, and not just you, have to deal with in the game, but other people have to deal with as well. You know what? This is amazing. I love this. I love these moments. I love the times when we get to see players, we get to see individuals rise to the occasion when they're playing the best competition they're going to play in that year. CJ Stroud, my eyes are on you. We're all watching you. And I do believe Buckeye fans expect and are comfortable with you calling the shots this weekend. Why? You have proven it time and time again this year, that you can do that. You can rise, you can adapt, and do the things that ultimately sometimes people might not think you can do. Keep rising to the occasion, young man. We will all be watching you this weekend as you face and attack the Nittany Lions defense that will throw some things at him that he has not seen all year long. You are tapped into Locked On Buckeyes live here on a Tuesday evening, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Guys, we love these live shows. We're going to have a crossover episode ready for you on Thursday. Myself and Kevin McGuire, the host of Locked On Nittany Lions, will have a preview episode similar to what we witnessed and what we enjoyed last Thursday with Jacob Rude of Locked On Hoosiers. So make sure you're in your place, you're ready to go, so that when on Thursday morning, YouTube, it'll be up late on Wednesday evening to where you can tap in and get a great preview, Locked On Podcast Network style, for us to know what to expect on Saturday's game against the Penn State. I don't know why I said something else. Penn State Nittany Lions. I was almost going to say the Lions and then another name, but the hesitation kind of confused me. I have no idea what is going on. Ryan Day on Tuesday had his regular press conference, and I did not know this. I had no idea that the press conference is broadcast live on 97.1 The Fan in Columbus, Ohio, the flagship radio station for the Ohio State Buckeyes. I had no idea. Normally, I go to the YouTube or I might go to a website that's broadcasting that live. I had no idea that I could be at home listening to it via the audio and not watching it and have a better chance of time of just taking notes during that thing. During Ryan Day's presser on Tuesday, he made a few interesting comments. One of them we just spoke about in regards to CJ Stroud and the atmosphere that he'll be playing in during this weekend's game. Ryan Day said this in regards to things that are on the Buckeyes' plate, preparation, and things that maybe even in a blowout, you may think, oh, everything was great, no problems. That's quite the contrary. And Ryan Day talked about one specific thing that he noticed on the film, or that he noticed in the moment, that needs to get fixed. There are always things to work on. And Ryan Day, when talking about this, he mentioned the sack on the first drive of the second half. You can also go back to the first half where it's blocking always superb. Did they miss any tackles? Were angles on tackles? Were angles in pursuit to tackle the ball carrier? Were those things wise? Were those things the best that they should be? There are so many things in regards to this situation right here with the football team that you might think, hey, it was a blowout. There was no problem with anything that these guys did. And as someone as people that watch sports all the time, a lot of us religiously, we can look and see. We're not coaches. We can look out there and see, hey, that needs to be fixed. Yeah, That right there, that route to the block was okay, but it could be swifter, it could be cleaner, it could be smoother, it could be faster. That needs to be fixed. Hey, you tried to jump over the defender. How about you try a different move? Because then if you jump over the defender, you're putting yourself in harm's way and you never know what may happen. Jeremy Ruckert tried it, and then later on, Jackson Smith-Njigba tried it. Jackson Smith-Njigba's could have been a whole lot worse than the landing was. Jeremy Ruckert, luckily, it was one-on-one. Smith-Njigba, it was one defender and then another over the top, trying to take that man down as quick as they could. He also mentioned this in regards to the better competition in the wide receivers, the guys running the routes. Primarily with this moment here, he talked about how guys are less open as they are playing better competition. And in regards to that, I want to talk a little bit about this Penn State Nittany Lions defense, because I do believe that this defense is the best defense that Ohio State will face possibly this year until going to the playoff. I do know, let me think here very quickly off the top of my head, Michigan's defense, Michigan State's defense, Penn State's defense is probably the best defense that Ohio State will face all year long. In regards to that, Ryan Day, he mentioned a few players for Penn State that stuck out to him, that popped off the screen while he was watching the film in regards to preparation for this team. He mentioned Tariq Castro-Fields, Joey Porter Jr., and Jaquan Brisker among Penn State defensive backs that have caught his eye in preparation for the matchup with Penn State. Many of us do know the name Joey Porter. Yes, Joey Porter, not Joey Porter Jr. Joey Porter did play in the NFL for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I believe he played for another team before he ended up retiring from the National Football League, did a little coaching for the Steelers, and now he is just being a football dad, watching and enjoying his son play the football. There's a reason why I believe Ryan Day made the comment about things will need to be a little bit different for C.J. Stroud. He did talk about the electric atmosphere that is expected on Saturday evening. Another thing that I do believe is expected is for a little bit more adversity, a little bit more pressure, and for guys like Wilson, Olave, Smith-Njigba to not be as open as they have been throughout portions of the season. To date right now for the Nittany Lions, their total defense in the Big Ten, they're 6th ranked. They're only giving up 323.6 yards per game. The Ohio State defense, I think, is playing better than many people believe or think it is right now. The Ohio State defense is only giving up 348.3 yards per game. That is number 7 in total defense for the Big Ten. In regards to rushing defense, Penn State, number 10, 145.6 yards per game that they're giving up right now. They are currently the opponent is averaging 3.6 yards per rush against Penn State. In their pass defense, this is one where I believe this is going to be a battle, a dogfight. They're only giving up 178.0 yards per completion. 55.6 is the completion percentage for opposing quarterbacks, and they're only giving up 5.2 yards per completion. I mean, this pass defense is amazing. Now, you want to see how does that stack up against Ohio State? Ohio State's giving up 230.9 through the air, and their opposing quarterbacks are averaging 6.6 yards per completion. You see there's a big difference between the 178.0 of Penn State and the 230.9 of Ohio State. I do think Ohio State's pass defense will continue to get better throughout the season because of the way that the defensive line is emerging and playing a whole lot better. There are differences between these two defenses. This attack is huge. You will see Joey Porter Jr. You'll probably hear that name all game long because that's how good he is. He does take away a certain portion of that field wherever he is on the field. So keep your eyes on him. That is number 9. You'll probably hear his name a lot throughout this week. Ryan Day also mentioned some unfortunate news for Marcus Crowley. He suffered an injury during the bye week, and he will probably be out he will be out for a long time. Someone that just came off of an ACL injury, who recovered from that thing, was looking to get in the rotation this year, got hit by the injury bug, and it's unfortunate that he will be out for an extended period of time. You never like to see somebody on your team or on the opposing team miss any time for an extended period of time due to an injury. And then you add in the context that he's battled something previously, battling something again. It's not enjoyable. Every week is a new challenge. Every week is a whole season. You just don't know how the game is going to play out. Last quote from Ryan Day right there, and I do believe that's the great mindset. That's part of the reason that Ryan Day and this football team has looked in this season the way that they have week after week after week. Yes, the Oregon game didn't happen. The Oregon game could have been a whole lot worse if Ohio State did not have the type of preparation that they had now. Early in the season, there were some hiccups. There were things that weren't right. However, imagine if Ohio State was looking ahead to the end of the season and not paying attention to where they were right there. It's a 7-point deficit, could have easily been 21, because sometimes Ohio State's players were very, very confused and would have been more confused if they were looking way down the road to the end of the year. You are tapped into Locked On Buckeyes Live here on a Tuesday evening, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Ready and prepared for another fun crossover episode. Mentioned it earlier. We'll be ready for it once again on Thursday. Also, a little programming note. Our post-game show will be back live at the conclusion of Saturday evening's games. Probably between 11 and 11:30 around the conclusion of the game, with the game being a 7:30 kick. The game is over. Jay goes live on YouTube, Locked On Buckeyes, and on his personal Twitter page at JStevens07, who will instantly recap and analyze the game that the Buckeyes just played. So after the end of the game into Sunday, I was thinking about this Buckeye football team. And I was thinking about how, in the moment while I was at the game on Saturday evening, we see it on TV, how many guys rotate in and out for Ohio State on defense. Offense is a little bit different. They have added a little rotation at offensive line, being able to play Matt Jones, number 55, in spot moments when need to. I know at some portion during the game against Indiana, DeJuan Jones did come out, and you can quickly see that's not going to slow down this attack, because they can shuffle pieces around and just put the pieces to the puzzle where they need to go at that time. Running back, we have seen injuries, and Tony Alford has done a phenomenal job with the running back rotation, because you need to be able to adapt to what's right in front of you and put guys in the right places to be successful. But as we look at this Buckeye football season, we look at and see how they have looked, how they have played, how they have responded, how many guys have played the football during the first quarter of games. This thought came to my mind. How will the Buckeye stamina be in big games when they have rotated so many players? Will we see Ohio State rotate guys late in the season in big games? Say you may see 3 or 4. Well, you want to see 3. You want to see 4 or 5 corners in the first quarter. You might see 2 safeties. You might see Lathan Ransom come in and out a little bit. You might see rotation on the D line. You might see 3 or 4 linebackers in the first quarter of play. How will Ohio State respond when the game calls for their best players to play and to not come off the field? I mean, you might be used to playing 40, 45 snaps a game. All of a sudden, you need to be asked to play 65, 70, maybe 75 snaps a game. That's a big jump, not just physically for your body, but also for your mentals. That's a lot. That's a lot to adjust to right on the fly. This is one of those things that we're going to speculate. I will speculate and think about in regards to, will we see a dip off? Will we see some hesitation? Will we see different play calling in the moment? Because maybe the players mentally, physically, their bodies aren't used to this week in and week out. And all of a sudden, when it's asked of them to do that, their body doesn't respond in the way, they don't respond in the way that they should, that you think they will. I say all that because I know how it is for me. And I got a little story for you, then we'll close up shop. I know how it is for me when I am in those moments where all of a sudden I have to push my body in a way, both physically and mentally, that I have not done, maybe if ever or in a very long time. I used to be, and I'm getting back into it. I used to be a I won't say long distance runner, but that's kind of what it was. I used to run 5Ks, 5-mile races. I've run 4 half marathons in my life, planning on getting back into that next year. And one thing that I know was my mindset during my first half marathon, baby, that was tough. Now, granted, my preparation, I went to the Google and I found a little chart that had the half marathon training guide on there. And I believe it was like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you run 3 miles, you're off Thursday, you're off Friday, you run a long run on Saturday, and then you're off on Sunday, or you can do a recovery mile and a half type of run on that day, just recovery and to keep your body fresh. So it was 3-3-3 off, and then you would run. Or there was another one, 3 Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday run, off Thursday, you run a short run on Friday, and then you run a longer run on Saturday. So in that preparation, I mean, I'm running Saturdays, sometimes Fridays, just depending on the day. Sometimes I would take that off day Thursday, run on Friday, because I was busy on that Saturday. And there were sometimes, I mean, I'm out there ready to run, got to run 5 miles, got to run 6 miles, got to run 7 miles. And I generally ran. I didn't really run in my preparation. I don't think I ran longer than 9 miles prior to the week of my first half marathon. And so in this, I remember it was probably a few weeks prior to the half marathon. The half marathon was in the month of May. So the weather was not too hot, too cold. It was probably 50, 55 degrees, comfortable, very comfortable to run that type of race. And so I remember I ran 9 miles all out of the blue. Like I was planning on running 4 or 5 that day. Next thing I know, my body was like, hey, man, we feeling good, Jay. Let's keep going. And so I'm just running. Next thing I know, I was living with my parents at the time, and I was going in a loop around their little a housing addition. There was another housing addition I was attached to it. So I had a 3-mile loop that I would do almost daily whenever I not daily, but whenever I ran. It was a 3-mile loop. I felt so good. Boom. Do that again. Boom. Did that bad boys 3 times. I ran 9 miles. I go back inside to the house, about to take a shower, and my dad's right there. My dad's like, you was outside for quite a long time. I said, yeah, Dad, I was feeling good. I was feeling it. He said, oh, you had the runner's high, huh? I said, yeah, something like that. Went upstairs, took my shower, all that good jazz. Next thing you know, the week of the race, I ran 13 miles that Wednesday. Mind you, this might be stupidity. This might be just ignorance. This might be the proper preparation for my body to do so. And so I ran 13 miles that Wednesday. The race is on Saturday. And then I saw some people that evening, and they looked at me, and they were like, Jay, are you trying to lose more weight? Because I was losing weight very quickly at that time. I said, Jay, are you trying to lose more weight? They didn't know that your boy ran 13 miles for the very first time that day. It was 13.1 exactly. I said, no, I'm just trying to get ready for this race. There were some guys I was around that evening that knew I was running the race, just talking to me and trying to figure things out. When I got to that race there on that Saturday afternoon, Saturday morning, not afternoon, Saturday morning, when I got there for that race, one thing that stuck out to me was mile 6 in the middle of a race where you're surrounded by thousands of people and you're running around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which is at a bank, 2.5 miles. You're basically running at a slant the entire time. That's a whole lot different than it was when I was running around my neighborhood, just preparing and training for that race. At the end of that race, I remember I was running on fumes, y'all. I mean, just slowly chugging along. I don't know I think my time was like 1 hour and 52, around 55 minutes, maybe 57. I think it was more 57 minutes at that time just to finish that race. Under 2 hours was my goal, which was amazing. I remember later that year, I ended up running another half marathon, and that was the fastest time I'd ever ran in my life. Also, I remember the preparation for that first race, the mindset during that first race, the enduring that I took, my body endured during that first race, prepared me for the second. Ohio State's football team, I know they had preparation. They may have even had full game scrimmages. I know they had scrimmages early during preseason camp. But this game this weekend against the Nittany Lions, I'm curious. Will they have to mentally play, physically play later into the game than normal? Will the rotating that we have seen, will that go away because the game calls for the best players to play on the field? Will there be hiccups? Will there be hesitation? Will there be dominance? Will there be a few more bad plays than normal? That's all to be determined. But this one thing about stamina is a thought that's in my mind that here on this Tuesday evening live with you it just came out. It was something that I believe maybe you may be thinking about, or maybe just a thought that we all might be in our mind. Third quarter. If this score is close in the third quarter, I have reasons to think that it might not be. But if it is, the mental capacity, the physical stamina of the players will be put on the player and will be put on the test. Will be tested. Guys, Locked on Buckeyes here on a Tuesday evening. Thank all of you who tapped in and tuned in for another show. You can follow me on Twitter if you're not already at jsteven07. You can follow the podcast on YouTube. Just search Locked on Buckeyes. Put that in the search engine. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell so you're notified. And make sure you hit the like button on every single video. Guys, in the meantime, make sure you check out the Locked On Big Ten podcast so you can stay up to date on everything going on with the Big Ten Football Conference. The basketball season starts very, very soon. The Locked On Big Ten is a place to be for you to stay up to date with everything going on with the football and the basketball inside the Big Ten Conference. Nate Dickinson is your host. He has you covered every single day as he hosts the show and is joined by a Locked On Big Ten college host to join him to talk about what's going on in the conference. You can follow the podcast on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your fine podcast.